3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Glad you're on board with us. A lot to get to today. We'll talk a lot of SEC football. What's going on at the Olympics? Our good friend Caroline Fenton from Nashville is going to join us later on. She's covering the Olympics for Yahoo in addition to her regular work with the Southeastern Conference coverage. So we'll get to her in just a little bit. Drive around the SEC. What else is going on at the Olympics? But as we speak, Coach Shane Beamer is about to take to the podium for Gamecock Football Media Day, and we are going to take you down to the facility and listen to Coach Beamer right now.
Obviously, for us, it's over. I guess you guys got a little bit of one left, but I know this. Our guys are extremely excited to get going as well. I know every coach in America is sitting there standing before the media right now talking about what a great summer his team had, and we absolutely did. There's no doubt in my mind. We had an elite summer, and credit goes to our players, but Luke Day and his strength and conditioning staff, the work they put in, Clint Haggard, our head athletic trainer, the work that he and his squad put in, Yemi Rodriguez, head of nutrition for us, and the work that he and his team put in. Summers in college football are a huge undertaking, and our guys have been up here since Memorial Day, that Monday. We had a team meeting, and they've been going at it every day since that Tuesday morning after Memorial Day as well. So these people have been up here all summer with them, along with our coaches. Obviously, we were able to get away a little bit and get some vacation time with our families, but outside of the 4th of July holiday, everyone in our program has been with our players, and they've been putting in the work without a doubt. Summer's a huge deal and an opportunity to get better as a team, and no doubt in my mind we did that, and it's because of our players and the people around them as well. There's no doubt that we've grown as a team. We made a lot of progress from January through April in the spring game, and then we talked to our players about how much more work there is to do and how much more we have to grow from April until when we start preseason practice, and we absolutely have. I just came from a team meeting upstairs, and Luke Day was talking to our players about the summer they had, and he's like, anybody that questions what you guys have done and the work you've put in, just all they have to do is look at you. And it's exactly right. When you see our players walk in here in a little bit, you're going to see them, and a lot of them look different and whatnot. I know some of those pictures that have been on social media have been quite a hit with some of the befores and afters, but we have that with every single one of our players, and took 4.5 hours yesterday as a coaching staff and went through every single player on our team and talked about their summers and whatnot. And our guys have definitely grown and gotten better, and it'll be very evident when you see them as well. Having said that, we still have a lot of work to do in the month of August as we head into the first game on August 31st, but there's no doubt we've grown and gotten better as a team since the spring game. Full day today, just like I said, I'm coming from a team meeting. We met at 1:30 as a team. Dr. Amaritas, our president, came over and spoke. Appreciate him coming over and visiting with our guys, and they're in offense-defense meetings right now. Dinner after we finish up with the media, here to finish up with you guys today, and then we have a after-dinner team meeting tonight. Coach Tanner will be here to visit with us. We'll get into some football stuff tonight, offense, defense, special teams, and team meeting, and then tomorrow morning right back at it with a 7:30 team meeting, and then hit the field shortly thereafter. So I'll say this, I've got a lot of work to do, but love this group. There's been a hunger and a desire to get better, a very purposeful group, a very invested group. It's been very evident since January when we came back in the spring semester to get to work, and I can't wait to get out on the field tomorrow. I told them earlier, and it's the truth, I don't think I've ever been more excited about starting practice in a season than I am this one, and it's because of the people that we have on our roster and the type of young men they are, the leadership we have, the hunger they have, how invested they are. So got a lot of work to do, but really excited about the people I get to do it with starting tomorrow morning on the practice field. So with that, any questions? Does David still get the first one even though he missed the... All right. Yeah. Blame Mother Nature. Blame God. Weather and rain came in.
Shane, is there one position group or position competition that you're looking at more than any other over these next 30 days that says we've got to take care of that above all?
Yeah, great question. Yes and no. I think there's a lot. I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I really do believe there's multiple. We met as a staff this morning, and I talked about all the things that really excite me about this team, which there's a lot, but then all of the things that are, I don't want to say concerns, but are questions that we have to answer, and there's multiple. And who the kicker is going to be, is something that we have to figure out. What does that I'm going to go through basically every position, David, I'm sorry, but essentially, okay, if O'Donnell Fortune's coming into the season as one starting corner, what does that opposite corner battle look like? Nick Emanwari and DQ Smith come into the preseason as our two starting safeties. What does the depth look like behind those guys? How is this linebacker rotation going to shake out? Because you guys have heard me say it, we basically had a 3-man rotation last year. I feel confident saying that we could have as much as a 7-8-man rotation as far as guys, if they continue to come along, that I feel like can help us win SEC football games. What does that shake out? Or how does that shake out? Same thing, we feel good about the D-line group, but what's the rotation there? Obviously, everybody wants to talk about the offensive line and the receiver position. So I would probably say that one to answer your question, just what it looks like. Not that we don't have capable people, because we do, but we've got more depth and athleticism and competition than last year on really every position, but particularly on the offensive line and at the receiver position. And it's the truth that if you ask me today, what will the starting 5 look like on the offensive line game 1, and who are your top 6 receivers game 1, it really truly is still to be determined. So I think a little bit of everything. There's competition. What does Lenoris and Robbie in that situation? How does that continue to come along? Davis Bevel, but probably most pertinent, most important right now would be, they're all important, but the most up in the air, probably the receiver rotation and how that shakes out.
You mentioned that the summer was elite this summer. Can you point to 2 or 3 kind of tangible things that took it from really, really, really good to elite?
I think obviously the physical part of it, when you just look at how some of these guys have changed their bodies this summer, whether it be gaining weight, guys that needed to gain weight, whether it be losing weight, guys that needed to lose weight. Coming out of spring practice, John, there's a lot of guys that had some body weight issues, good or whether it be gaining or losing. And as we sit here right now, we've overcome those. And a couple, don't get me wrong, that still need to probably gain a little bit, lose a little bit, but we're in a great position from that standpoint would be one. How we've gotten stronger. If you look at what our guys the strength gains that they've made from January to now, but in particular from May when they came back until now, we've gotten stronger. There's no question about it. And then you guys have heard me say it before, and it's the truth. Every coach in America would say this, but the summertime is just so critical because that's really when you're forming so much of your team from a leadership standpoint and the mental toughness and all that as well. And they've had some tough, hard, raw moments this summer as a team, and I just feel like we've taken a huge step just from a leadership standpoint, guys being willing to hold each other accountable, call each other out when needed, just things like that. So overall, just I think the physical part of it, but then just the overall team dynamic, I really feel like we've made some strides in that department.
Shane, I know over the last couple of years, transfer portal players continue to just grow in the sport of not just college football, but college sports as a whole. I know it's not apples to oranges, but last year Lamont Paris brings in a lot of new players. Those guys were able to buy in quickly. Number one, do you talk to other coaches in other sports maybe about how they were able to get transfer players to adjust, and what do you think is one of the keys to be able to get those guys to blend in, to be able to achieve the things you want quickly?
Yeah, talk to other people from time to time. I don't know if it's necessarily calling, every coach and quizzing them on how they've handled the portal and things like that. Certainly in certain instances, whether it be Lamont or whoever, just talking to them about how they've been able to do things, not just with the transfer portal, but with their team in general, just culture, roster dynamics, absolutely. For me, Mike, it starts with bringing the right person into the program. Because, yes, I believe our culture's strong here without a doubt, but no matter how strong your culture is, if you bring an absolute turd, am I allowed to say turd? If you bring an absolute turd, I just did, turd into your program, it's going to be hard to overcome that if he doesn't fit what we're about. And we've walked away from guys that in the portal that maybe wanted to come here, that just from being around our players and being around them, I didn't quite think they were going to fit with what we're about. And every time we bring a player into our program, the first team meeting that we have, I tell our players, I brought, Mike Uva into the program, and he's going to fit what we're about, and I believe he's a good person, and yada, 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 and going to help us from that standpoint. So bring the right person into the program, and then once they get in here, that's where it helps us this year because we have so much returning leadership on our team. We vote on captains at the end of the season. Boogie Huntley and Debo Williams were captains for us on the 2023 team of our top, whatever I said, I know I said it in Dallas, but I think of our top however many vote getters for captain, I think top 8 vote getters, maybe 5 of them are back. So we've got a lot of leadership returning, which new guys come into the program, they see from the people in our program how things are done, what this place is about, and then it's easy to just kind of, fall in line. And it's not always easy to transition, but put a lot of support around them, players, coaches, staff, and having conversations, and then really even do a better job myself of just being more intentional about building relationships and forcing everybody on the team to get to know each other and help bring those guys along. And not patting myself on the back. I think I said it with you guys before, but it makes me feel good when other guys come into our program from other places and they talk about how we do things, and it's different than where they've been and whatnot. And I would hope they would say that because it is different here in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Is there anything to be said about the time? I know people have been looking on the outside, 9:23. Is there any significance, or is that just kind of how it played out?
That's just kind of how it played out. So, not to get too technical, but one of the tweaks that we've made going into this upcoming season is doing a little bit more of a. We've tweaked some things that we're doing in practice, like I've talked to you guys about trying to be a little bit, hopefully be a little bit healthier as we go into the season. So one thing that we're doing is normally when our guys go from meetings, they go straight from the meetings to the walkthrough. We always start every single day. The very first thing is a special teams walkthrough, and that would be at 9:15, for example. Whereas this year, the first thing they do when they come on the field is we're going to call it activation. Basically just kind of get their bodies warmed up a little bit before the walkthrough, because a walkthrough for us is a little bit more than a walkthrough. It's like a jog through. So just to I'm probably taking up too much time here. Sorry, Steve. We had an incident this past spring where Joe D was doing something in the special teams walkthrough that required a little bit of jogging, and we had a specialist that slipped essentially coming on the field, potentially pulled something, kind of did pull something, and it was kind of eye-opening, like, oh my God, maybe we need to do a little bit more before the walkthrough just to kind of get their bodies going because they've been sitting in meetings. So we've never done it before. They've done it a little bit before the weight workout, so we haven't even talked to the players about this. So if you ask them and they come down here, hey, what do you think about the activation period? They're probably going to be like, what? But that's all we're doing. So the 9:23 is the activate. 9:15 is when they got to be on the field tomorrow morning to kind of get the warm up. Then we go into the walkthrough after 8 minutes, which would be 9:23. So anything in our program, it's down to the minutes. This isn't like some new thing. If you look at a practice schedule, it drives my wife and kids crazy because they're like, why can't you just say 9:20 and 9:25 and 9:30? Because I want that period to be 3 minutes or 6 minutes or 4 minutes and whatnot. So that's why.
All right, there you go. We have more from Coach coming up, but kind of like what he just said, we have segmented things that we need to do pretty much on the mark as well.
By the minute.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we'll
We are a college football team.
We'll take a quick break here, but don't worry, you will hear all of Coach Beamer's comments in their entirety. Gamecock Football Media Day down at the facility. This is the Thursday postgame show. 19 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Happy August to all of you. Jay and Elijah with you. Let's get you back down to the Gamecock football facility as Coach Shane Beamer continues to address the media at Gamecock Football Media Day.
Is this okay, Steve? Yeah. Shane, you mentioned, you touched on Linares a little bit earlier. When you bring a guy like that in here, I mean, he could have probably won the starting job at a lot of different places across the country. He comes in here knowing, hey, you know, my year's not going to be spent, a lot of it, on the field.
Yeah.
What does that say about the kind of person he is, the character he is, that kind of guy that you hope to have leading this team?
Yeah, I think that's a great point in that he could have won a state championship and had other schools obviously was recruiting him. He wanted to stay at home and came here. But I don't want to speak for Linares, but I think it was very much got a chance to sit behind and learn from Spencer for a year. You guys have heard me say it a bunch. I saw Spencer do that with Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma as well. So I think the opportunity, one, stay in state, come to the University of South Carolina. It's not about, you know, I know everybody wants to play immediately and it's about instant gratification. I think he saw it as a year to redshirt and get stronger and learn the offense and put himself in position to have a great 2024. But not just Linares. I mean, I got all the respect in the world for Robbie Ashford. He's essentially did the same thing coming here to compete as well. And that, you know, Robbie, a lot of the quarterbacks, you guys know that we were active in the transfer portal market for quarterbacks, and there are some quarterbacks that went to other schools that wanted to come here, and rightfully so because of what we did with Spencer in the portal, or what Spencer did coming here out of the portal, wanted to come here, but they wanted to be promised the starting quarterback job. And right back there, that core value says compete. I'm a fraud if we don't truly compete. So I didn't promise the job to anybody, including Robbie Ashford or Davis Bevel, but both those guys came here for the opportunity to compete. And I think it says a lot about those guys as well, that they didn't want something handed to them. Linares knew he needed to come in here and work. Nothing's been handed to him, but I think it goes back to him, the kind of person he is, his mom and dad, and high school program he's coming from, and saw the benefits here at South Carolina so much better and more for him long term and not just immediate.
The last 2 years, you've had to have a true freshman play first quarter of game one because of injuries. When you're going through a camp, is there a sign or maybe a couple signs that a true freshman might be ready to go week one or out of the chute that you look for? Yeah.
Another great point. We talked about that a lot as a staff this morning, just some of the injuries that we've had early in the year, and you're right about last year, and then really the year before with Nicky Mamori when we had a safety that came out of the game, and then Nick comes in. It's just like right away. I think just the moment's not too big for them. You know, they don't have a lot of issues, and coaches have said it before, kind of how you do anything is how you do everything, and we just watched a video on Eric Spoelstra, the head coach of the Miami Heat, talking about that with LeBron James when LeBron played for the Heat, and how he did everything, whether how his locker looked to how he handled his nutrition. He just did everything right. I think I look for that. And when you talk about the guys that have come in and had to play for us early as a true freshman, whether it be Jalen Kilgore was at the second play of the game last year against North Carolina, Nick early, both those guys specifically are guys that they're never on any list. I mean, they just do everything right on the field and off the field. And I think that's a sign, certainly, for one. They just kind of handle their business, and you realize that they're not a guy that's late for this or missing this or not going to class. They just handle their business, and they're a pro. And that, to me, equates on the field. But then the other thing that I would say also is the way college football is nowadays, with all these guys, most of them being here in January, you've seen that, and you've had a chance to develop them even more leading into the first game as well. I mean, the days of, I don't want to be like back when I played, but not that long ago, freshmen didn't even show up till July. And then you practiced for 3 weeks, or you lifted weights for about 3 weeks, and you went and practiced, and that was it. And then before that, freshmen didn't even show up until August, and they just went straight to practice, and then they played as well. So I think it's one of those, you get more time with them to help develop them for the first game, but then certainly there's character signs that are very evident to me that say, okay, this guy's going to have a chance to help you as a freshman.
You mentioned, just how many guys are coming back from injury, and the activation period is one thing to, hopefully prevent injury. Has there been anything else after last season in the offensive line that you guys have tried to do to, prevent those things from happening, such as the activation period?
Yeah, and don't make too big a deal out of the activation period. It was really, our guys have kind of been doing it for the weight room all summer. Like, hey, let's get warmed up before we go lift weights, and they come in here every day. So if all summer long, the weight workout started right here in this end zone where you guys are sitting for weight workouts. They came in here, they did stuff leading up to the workout in the weight room, then they went and did the running and the lifting. So it's really just a carryover from what they've been doing in the weight room in a lot of ways as well. And let's just get these guys. This was something back when Chip Kelly was coaching for the Eagles, and I went up there one time and watched them practice, and they essentially did it. They had the whole team in the weight room, and they kind of got warmed up and revved up, and then they hit the field and full speed ahead from that point for practice. So it's nothing like we're doing anything like rocket or earth-shattering. But to answer your question, I think it's all started going back literally to January in a lot of ways with how we've done things, and I talked about it in whether Dallas or the media golf last week that we've, tweaked some things in the weight room, nothing major, but just tweak some of the exercises that we're doing, some of the things that we're doing just from a physical standpoint with their bodies, nutrition, training room, leading into the summer. We're certainly going to tweak some things. I'm going to talk to the players about it tonight, just not so much, how we practice, but the schedule during the week, maybe a little bit more conducive to taking care of their bodies, whether it be getting out of here. Normally in preseason camp, we're getting out of here. The players are last few years 9:15ish at night. This year it's going to be probably closer to 8:30 each night when they're done over here. Or each night before they leave, they're going to be required to do some sort of like recovery exercise before they get out of here, just to really try and prevent stuff on the front end as well. But then again, a lot of the injuries that happened last season, like no matter what you do, whether you have an activation period, you don't have an activation period, whether you have a walkthrough at 9:23 or 9:15, or they get out here at 8:30 or 9:15, whatever it is. Case and Henry getting rolled up on in a game against North Carolina, you can't prevent that, but it's a lot of the soft tissue things that are preventable that you hope you do on the front that are hopefully preventable, whether it be somebody tearing his ACL covering a kickoff last year against North Carolina, or somebody trying to chase down a ball carrier on the sideline and pulling his hamstring, or somebody tearing his ACL jumping up to bat a pass the year before against Arkansas. Just trying to do as much looking at things and to prevent them. Taking care of their bodies, which they've got to be a pro about also. And then for us, too, we've gone back as myself and the training staff and the strength and conditioning staff and looking at injuries. We took 45 minutes this morning as a whole coaching staff and just went back and watched every single injury from spring practice that resulted in a player missing more than 1 day of practice. And, okay, here's all the ankles, here's all the hamstrings, here's all the knees, we had one concussion because a guy tripped and fell and hit his head on the ground, but how can we prevent those? Were there signs leading up to it? Was we got too many people on the ground, or somebody tripped, and just looking at everything that you're doing, but also understanding, I'll shut up, I know this is like the longest answer in the history of like press conferences, but realizing that last year for us, and you said it in your question, it was primarily the offensive line centric were the injuries. But if you look at our overall injuries, it was pretty much on average with what we've had in previous years in a lot of ways, and pretty much on average with the rest of the country in regards to the number of injuries that we had. For us, it just happened to be at one position where we lost whatever it was 6 to season-ending injuries and had 9 different starting lineup combinations in the first 9 games. So it was, yes, you have to look at the offensive line, and I think they've taken on a lot of that on their own. They stayed up here the whole month of May. We didn't make them. They wanted to stay because they're tired of, not necessarily you guys, but they're tired of hearing people talk about how bad they are. So they really wanted to come up here and get their bodies right, get their nutrition right, get their body weight right, work together as a unit, and get better in the month of May. So when their teammates came back in June, they're like, oh, shoot, look at what the offensive line's been doing in the whole month of May. And I think that's happened as well. And they've taken it upon themselves. And it all starts, like I said, weight room, nutrition, training room, and then anything that we can do to help them as well. So, sit down after that.
All right, there you go. Some good stuff from Shane Bieber. We do have more coming up. That's an interesting topic in terms of injury prevention and trying to figure out why there may have been an inordinate amount, especially up front, as he said. More from Coach Beamer on Gamecock Football Media Day as the postgame show continues. All right, we're really not doing much of the talking so far today. We will later because that's what we get paid for. But right now, Coach Shane Beamer is addressing the assembled media down at the Gamecock football facility as it is Gamecock Football Media Day. Team reporting today, as he's been talking about, and practice begins tomorrow. A very regimented practice, according to Coach Beamer. If you hadn't already heard, here's more from Shane as he's speaking down again at the facility.
Two short roster questions.
All right.
Can you update the status of Jerome Simmons and any other changes on the roster since last Thursday?
Yeah, Jerome Simmons was a signee that we still hope will be a member of our football program going forward. He isn't right now and won't be this season, but optimistic that he will be in 2025. And nothing new that I'm aware of on our team. There nobody that we've added since last week, and nobody that, unless somebody didn't like the team meeting I just had and they've walked out of here since I came down, nobody's left the program that I'm aware of.
With the college video game out, Nick Harbor is probably one of the top players in that game. What does he need to do to achieve some of those abilities or unlock some of those abilities this year? What did he do in the summer to get there? What do you want to see from him out of the camp?
Yeah. First of all, the game's amazing, isn't it? I mean, we had a little tournament last week with our players, and then my son's been playing it, but he had it in his room last week, and we were playing at the house here in Columbia, and just the fact that you can now get, what is it, Glory Road or Glory whatever, where you get recruited and all that. Road to Glory, I think that's what it is. Don't act like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Y'all have played it. But he chose to go to a school in the game because they promised him the starting quarterback job as well. So clearly I failed with my son in that whatnot. And then he tells me he started playing a season with the team that he went to. He went and played for Mississippi State because Mississippi State promised him the starting quarterback job. And then I saw him the next day and I asked him how the season was going. And he told me that he was having academic issues, so he was suspended for a game as well. And I'm like, God almighty, like I got 120 in our program that I can't even get my own son straight with the video game as well. But then he also told me that he's now entered the transfer portal because some other school in this game is promising a different stuff as well. So I say that the game's unbelievable, almost too real in a lot of ways, clearly. And I wonder why I struggle with things as the head football coach, because that's what everybody's dealing with now in the game. Nick Harbor needs to continue to work like he's been working. I think the fact that he's putting forth the effort. Even when he was busy with track in the spring, he was at football meetings every morning when he was in town. He was on the practice field with us when it didn't interfere with track. Not practicing, but at least out here with us. And then the fact that he was out in Oregon for all of their stuff, and then immediately afterwards said he was not going to pursue the Olympic thing this year, and he was ready to start focusing on football, I think says a lot about, what he's about. And then the thing for him is Nick's just got to continue to work. I mean, you think about it, Mike Furry's been our receivers coach, and he's never actually worked with Nick on the practice field yet. So tomorrow will be the first time that Mike and Nick have ever worked together because Nick didn't really go through spring practice. Now, they've been meeting a lot and things like that and doing some summer workouts that we're allowed to do within the rules. But as far as actual practice, tomorrow will be Nick's first practice with Mike. And so we've got to get him better and a lot of our receivers better. But I think the thing for him, yeah, he's big and he can run really, really fast. But there's so much more to playing a receiver than just that. Releases, catching the ball, understanding how to beat coverage and techniques and things like that. And he's worked at all that since he got here last year and has really worked hard this summer as well. I think the thing with him is just let's let Nick just continue to develop. And there's a lot of my message to him, look, there's a lot of expectations on you. You got this 99 rating in this video game, and we had recruits here last week, and they're all like, man, 99, Nick Harbor, and they know, and he's known nationally because of that. And the Bruce Feldman did his freaks thing last year, and he was the #1 freak in college football and all that as well. All that's great, but, Nick just wants to be a young man, work really, really hard, and try and be the best football player that he can be, and we're here to support him and help him accomplish all of that as best we can.
Shane, two quick things. Did you go back and look at your rating in the game at all, or you didn't delve into that at all?
No, if that even exists, I'd be afraid to see that as well. But my son started asking me last night. Yesterday was his birthday, so we were sitting around and having a birthday party with him, and he asked me, about when I was in college, the NIL opportunities I had and how much I made and things like that. I'm like, zero. And he's like, zero? And I told him, even if there was NIL, Dad wouldn't have been making anything from an NIL standpoint, I can assure you.
Fun fact, my son's birthday was also yesterday.
No kidding. We'll tell him happy birthday.
I will.
Yeah,
Wow.
two great sons that were born on the 31st.
That's right. You're going to have a few more coaches out there on the field, guys kind of putting their voices in. What does that do to your voice out on the field? Do you kind of let them call the shots and you give them the overall message and they filter it down? How's that going to work now that you're going to have more people out there?
Yeah, I think it's great. I don't think it really changes anything for me. I'm going to continue to do what I do. Yes, there'll be more voices coaching, but, I believe in hiring. Don't get me wrong. Y'all have been out there enough. Y'all seen me at practice. I'm engaged. I'm involved with everything, all three phases. But I would like to think that I have hired, I know I have hired great coaches and let them go and coach and do their jobs and trust them to get the job done as well. And I don't want to be a guy out there that's, not undermining, but coaching every little thing they say. Most of the stuff I do is typically in the meetings before practice. Here's what we're doing in practice. Here's what I expect. Here's what needs to get done. I think the biggest thing is it'll help. Like, we do a lot of stuff in practice where we've got two different drills going on at the same time. So like tomorrow, for example, when we do a team period, we'll have half the offense and defense on this field over here closest to the building, and then half the offense and defense on the other field, and it'll be 11 on 11 work, but everybody's getting reps. There's nobody standing around. Well, in the past, you had to be very strategic about how you broke up the staff because the analysts couldn't coach. So if the first team offense is on this field and the second team offense, we don't have a depth chart. They're all competing, but the guys that are with the first group that day and the guys that are with the second group that day, they're on two different fields. Well, Dow Loggins coaching the quarterbacks couldn't be in two different places, or Mike coaching the receivers couldn't be in two different places. So you really could only put the graduate assistant opposite them because they were the only ones allowed to coach. The analysts could be there, but they couldn't coach. Now you don't have to worry about that. So now if Mike Shula is working with the quarterbacks along with Dow can be on this field, Mike can go over there, and you're not worried about it, Or Trey Money, who's working with our linebackers with Clayton, Trey can be on one field, Clayton can be on the other, and they can both coach the linebackers and whatnot, whereas in the past you couldn't do that. So that's where it'll really help, and it's good for them. It's a good opportunity for them, and we got a lot of good young and veteran coaches on this staff, and it's great for our players and their development also as well.
All right, Coach, thank you.
All right.
There you go. Good stuff from Shane Beamer on a myriad of things in there. Video games, warm-ups, calisthenics, as they used to call them.
His rating would not be very good, he says.
Yeah. When did Shane finished in, 99? Does that sound right?
I think so.
Or right around the time they played for the title?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They had some player ratings back then, though, didn't they? I don't know if they were.
I think they did.
I think they did.
I want to say EA Sports has always had, at least some element of player rating in the game.
I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
This means someone needs to go buy the old 99 game and just fire up an old PS1.
I probably
go back and look.
I probably have the 01, man. Like around 2000. I have somewhere.
Is that that's the oldest one you think you have?
I'm just trying to remember what console that was on.
Sega
maybe
Genesis.
Original Xbox. Now, I don't know if they had one for... Well, they probably did have one for Genesis.
They'd been one of the first ones.
Yeah. Well, Coach K basketball, which was amazing, was on Genesis. And, man, we used to... My buddies and I used to play the heck out of that thing. God, that was a fun game. So much. Only one year of it. But,
That's
man, it was great. God, it was great. All right, we'll recap some of the things Shane had to say, and maybe we'll reminisce about video games all day. Who knows? You never know what you're going to get. It's the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Appreciate you being with us, and good stuff from Coach Shane Beamer wrapping up his press conference just a few minutes ago. We'll revisit a little what Shane had to say later on in the program. But some of the highlights, his word says they had an elite summer, and when asked to expound on exactly what that meant, that he was very proud of his team for taking a lot of their physical needs very seriously, both the weight room, the nutrition. That last season and even after spring, he said, they were kind of tired of hearing about how good they weren't, I think is how he put it. And that they had really told him and themselves, we're going to do something about this. And, of course, a lot of these guys are around all summer anyway. I say all summer, but, a lot of them take summer classes because you don't have to take a full load. Most regular college kids take a 15-hour load is my point. And I think most football players take a 12-hour load, which makes you full-time.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. They're not in there taking 6 hours. Unless you're a grad student.
A Maymester is cramming it all in one.
Yeah, you can do, but I think they can only take one class in that, right? I don't even know if Carolina still does that.
It would be foolish to take more than one, I will say.
As
someone who has Maymestered before, you're cramming a lot in a little.
I did a couple of summer classes, but not the May. I don't think they had the Maymester when I was a college student back in my day.
Convenient, but also when you're like 2 weeks into it and you're like, oh, I got 2 more weeks of long classes.
Yeah, that's another
2 or
thing.
3 days a week.
I'd be asleep after a while. That's probably not the way to go through life.
You go into it thinking, man, I'm about to just crank out this entire class in a month. This is awesome. And then you're in the classroom for 3 hours, a couple days a week, and you're like, by the time you're halfway through it, you're like, when will this be over? This sucks. I just started this class and I have a midterm next week.
Yeah.
It's a grind.
But he says that he was very excited about that. Does feel like the biggest position battle, as I think all of us have predicted, is going to be at wide receiver, followed very closely by offensive line. That makes perfect sense. I think the places where you feel best, quarterback excluded, because that's a one-man job. Even though most of them haven't played here, you like the running back room, you like that linebacker room a lot.
Did find it interesting. He said that last year they considered their linebacking room a 3-man rotation, and now he says they have an 8-man rotation.
Yeah.
So figuring that out, that's a competition battle, not because you need somebody to step up and be the guy, but it's because you have what you would consider to be an embarrassment of riches because you can't play all 8 linebackers at once.
No.
So that's a good problem to have on the defensive side.
And you want to see some separation there, too, and then but, I mean, I'm telling you, man, even in the last couple of years of the Muschamp era and these first years of Shane, because of injury and lack of depth, I mean, there were times when you were basically playing 2 or 3 guys all game, and that's just totally unsustainable, really, in my opinion, at virtually any level of football.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to get away with something like that if you're like a high school team and those dudes are just really better than everybody on the other offense.
If those 2 linebackers are bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody.
But in the Southeastern Conference, when there are dudes all over the field at every school, it's too much to ask, in my opinion. And you did see, unfortunately, how that began to affect the football team after a while. But, you want more bodies, and Shane said he would not be holding true to a lot of his core values if he wasn't creating that level of constant competition, and that's what this team needs. Look, more good players is going to be everybody's refrain in some form or fashion. I can joke about it a lot because I say it all the time, but I go back to one thing, Elijah, that we all learned around here when you saw for, about a 5-year stretch. Again, when South Carolina won 49 games in 5 seasons under Steve Spurrier. The primary reason for that was quality depth. And I don't mean that nobody could coach or that you didn't have some special talent, because you had all of it. But when you mix quality depth with great coaching and a few elite players, you get great results. I mean, duh. I'm not here to break news on that. But you got to have the bodies, and people are going to get hurt. Speaking of getting hurt, and I'll have Elijah carve this out for us a little bit later on, Shane did make mention, if you missed it, of what the strength and conditioning staff and really the entire staff has attempted to do in the offseason to mitigate as best they can some of the injuries that they saw, whether it had a direct impact last season or not. A little bit different warm-up period, making sure that guys are really limber, really ready to go in practice before games, that they understand their own body better, that they may ask them to do some things to be recovered before they leave the facility. Just the little things that they helped guys identify in order to hopefully prevent some of the things that you saw last season. More on what Coach had to say, our poll question, so much more to get to in the second hour of the show. Coming up. Next week we send one of our daughters back to college out of town. She's got a ride, which is good. And then I was thinking to myself, man, I've got one more who turned 16 this week, and soon enough it'll be her turn. And you have to make those things more affordable. Well, let me tell you, one of the great ways you can do it is through a car loan at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. No better place right now, really, to finance your vehicle. They offer the same low rates on all new to 21 models. Great options for older vehicles as well. Many plans include no payments for up to 90 days. And they can finance more than 100% of the retail or purchase price on those new to 21 models. And they offer additional coverage and insurance options that dealerships cannot beat. So, before you finance that vehicle through another bank or through the dealer itself, check out what Palmetto Citizens can do for you. Learn more at palmettocitizens.org for that and all of your banking needs at a lower cost. Achieve your potential with Palmetto Citizens. 4 o'clock Thursday. Welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. You're you, and wherever you might be, thank you for choosing to spend a portion of your day with us. A lot of Gamecock football in the first hour, as we heard from Coach Shane Beamer. Gamecock Football Media Day taking place down at the facility. We'll bring you a little bit more from that throughout the course of the afternoon, keeping an eye on the United States women's basketball team. They are taking on Belgium today, and quite honestly, they're not playing very well. They're up 9, which is good. And I know we put a lot of pressure on both teams to just not only go out there and win, but look real good doing it, and sometimes you're not. And you get everybody's best shot. But Elijah and I just agreed with one another. American women today settling for a lot, while they may be open shots, they're settling for a lot of mid-range jumpers that are not high percentage shots. And Elijah said, why don't they just give the ball to Asia Wilson and get out of the way? And like on cue, when he said that one time, she was down on the block, just turns and hits a nice little Asia Wilson jumper.
Hire me. I'll be the coach.
Yeah, I mean.
Let's run the Asia Wilson play.
Well, again, let's
run Asia Wilson play number 2.
Right. Just kind of reminds me again of Mr. Burns. You there, Strawberry, hit a home run.
You got it, Coach.
You know, Smithers says, excellent strategy, sir. Yeah, and Daryl, okay, Skip. And it goes over the interstate, which is great.
I would simply, if I'm the coach of the Team USA women's basketball team, simply just lean back and say, all right, we're going to run Asia Wilson play 1, where you give the ball to Asia and you let Asia score. You can run Asia Wilson play number 2, where you give the ball to Asia, let Asia score. We also have Asia Wilson play number 3, a third variant, where you guessed it, give the ball to Asia, let her score.
Yeah. That's
definitely whenever you're 3-point shots.
I think it's I'll echo Mr. Waylon Smithers there. Excellent strategy, sir.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Speaking of Asia Wilson and the Asia Wilson plays, plural, she highlights our final day of poll questions, at least to the preliminary round of the greatest moments in Gamecock sports history this century. So let's get into that because we haven't done that yet during today's program.
We still have 7 hours left to vote for this one. We are at 301 votes, and this is our tightest one yet. So to refresh what moments are nominated for today, we have the 2017 Women's Basketball Championship highlighted by Asia Wilson. We have the 2022 Women's Basketball Championship where they took down mighty UConn for title number 2 under Dawn Staley. We have the football win at Clemson in 2022. After they followed up that Tennessee win just a week before. And the DJ Swearinger hit on Andre Ellington in 2012 that highlighted a run, of 5 consecutive W's against Clemson. So that is those are our nominees for today, and it's by a mile our closest competition. The 2017 Women's Basketball Championship leading at 28.6%, at just 1% lower at 27.6%. Is the football win at Clemson, and then closely behind that at 22.6% is the women's basketball title against UConn, and then right behind that at 21.3%, DJ Swearinger hit in 2012.
Yeah. Listen, that 22 football win at Clemson was cool. It was. I don't think it rises to the same prominence that either of those national championships do. That's my opinion. And I like that DJ Swearinger because it's a good poster. A lot of people have that one.
Oh yeah.
But like I told you, I think
flex after the play.
Yeah, I think the moment in that game that I'll always remember is the Dylan Thompson 3rd and a mile because nobody saw it coming. I'm not even sure if most of the game. I think there was like 4 Gamecocks that knew he was going to run. I don't even think they knew. I think Steve, G.A., Sean, Dylan, and like the two linemen on the right side, they all knew that Dylan was going to run over there. Everybody else, they're just like, nah, there's no way that dude's going to run. He doesn't run because he was so unlike Connor.
So it makes it such a good play.
That's amazing,
no one sees it coming.
That's one of the more thrilling plays. By the way, Belgium making a little run again. It's now 50-46, y'all. About 5.5 to play, third quarter. So plenty of time, but. The United States, from a defensive standpoint, is allowing Belgium to hang around. And again, America is not doing itself any favors with some really poor shot selection. So I like Elijah's call in this one. But
so we run the plays.
Again, the 2017, the first of the 3 championships won under Coach Don Staley out front right now. Now, tomorrow we'll take the 4 second-place winners, and they get a nice consolation prize, box of chocolates.
Yes, this is a we appreciate you type poll. And right now, we have the women's basketball title versus Iowa, finished in second yesterday, winning the SEC East at Florida in 2010, and then the men's basketball upset of Duke in 2017, and then whatever finishes in second today.
Okay. That'll be fun.
It's like a nice bronze medal, a good bronze medal match.
Speaking of medals, I think now's as good a time as any to just go ahead and get this off my chest and Elijah off his, and a lot of people we're just going to help around the country, even though there's only 2 of us talking. But if you haven't seen yet, and I first saw it last night, and actually, I guess it was right at the end of the show.
I saw it, and I was like,
you sent it to me.
You will never believe.
And it took me a second. It took me a second to. I couldn't tell if it was a joke or exactly what it was that I was looking at, but the Atlantic Coast Conference yesterday, when Katie Ledecky won another gold medal in the 1500, the mile swim, and she did it in Olympic record time, which is totally expected. She's beyond amazing. Many of you probably do, but many of you probably don't know that Katie Ledecky was a collegiate swimmer at Stanford who has churned out so many Olympic medalists, through the years in all kinds of Olympic sports. In addition to putting out, John Elway and Christian McCaffrey and a few others. But Stanford, of course, is now an ACC member. But no one that ever swam for Stanford, or California for that matter,
or SMU, might be swimming in these Olympics,
has ever competed as a member of the Atlantic Coast Conference. But the Atlantic Coast Conference put out Olympic record with the siren emoji. Thank you. Sorry, I was going to say GIF, and I was like, no, emoji. Thank you. Ledecky bringing home and then they put a medal. There's a gold medal. There's a little emoji. Hashtag accomplish greatness, which I'm surprised they don't capitalize the ACC in that, but they don't. Hashtag Olympians made here. And and then there's a graphic with Katie and the Stanford logo and ACC Olympians made here, it says. Suffice to say, the Atlantic Coast Conference is getting absolutely roasted nationally for this.
Ratioed, as the kids say.
And I threw out my own. I just said this is a really embarrassing look for the ACC, and I'm certain that the person responsible for it at the conference office understands why. It's credit grabbing at its highest level.
Stolen valor.
A lot of stolen valor. There's been, like, the funniest thing that's been added to this. Just some guy named Justin. And he with a question, he says, greatest play in ACC football history, and it's the Stanford Cal band game from the 80s. And that's just so perfect for this. Look, I know what they're trying to do. I get it. Your Stanford's now a member of your conference, and you're pumping up the conference. But you can't say champions made here and then put Katie Ledecky. You can't claim credit for anything she's done, and you shouldn't attempt.
Because break down the sentence for me. Champions made here. What are you referring when you're saying the word here?
Yeah.
That would insinuate that this champion, Katie Ledecky, was made here in the ACC because the ACC tweeted the word out. Here. No, that was not made here. What you should do, if you want to be accurate, just say hashtag champions made there.
Yes. Or just champion made,
Champion made.
And here's the thing. Katie Ledecky, for whatever it might be worth to you, Katie Ledecky finished Stanford like 4 years ago. So she hasn't even been in college. She's 27 years old. And I think I think she took a year off with the COVID thing, or maybe she's taken a year off to train for other Olympics. But she finished her. She is a graduate of obviously one of the most elite schools in the country. Good for her. She now trains down at University of Florida. And as Mike Gillespie was leaving the studio, he was in today for Terry on the halftime show with Tyler. He's like, heck, man, Florida has a bigger claim to her than the ACC does. And I was like, yeah, that's fair.
Which has a rival in the ACC.
Yeah.
So like the opposite of made here.
But for what it's worth, if it makes any ACC folk feel better, the Big 12 Conference has today claimed credit for French swimmer Leon Marchand, who has won 3 gold medals at these games. He trains with Michael Phelps' former coach, or trained with him. I think he still does to some degree. When that coach was at Arizona State, I think that coach is now at Texas. And remember, Michael trained with him at Michigan, but Michael Phelps did not swim collegiately because, well, to be true, he was just too good, and he went ahead and signed a pro deal and started getting sponsorships. Back when they, believe it or not, they used to not allow that, kids. It used to be that you couldn't get paid
to be in the Olympics.
What if there was a dumbass rule like there is for some sports for Michael Phelps? Like, well, he has to go to college for 2 years. I mean, heck, man, even
he
Tiger
has to swim for Michigan.
Yeah, and by the way, if I'm the ACC, am I not putting Tiger Woods all over everything now? If I'm putting Katie Ledecky on stuff.
If you're going to steal valor for the Olympics, steal it for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, you got to put Tiger Woods on there from Stanford. Again, John Elway, Christian McCaffrey.
Toby Gerhart.
Toby Gerhart was good at Stanford back in the day. Let's
Josh
go.
Childress, shout out Atlanta Hawks.
Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch.
Deshaun Jackson.
My guy from way back in the day, Craig Morton, who played at Cal.
SMU, Bryson DeChambeau. Eric Dickerson.
I mean, we're
just 2 dudes talking about ACC legends, guys that were hashtag made here. That's just what we're doing.
Yeah, and look,
exercise.
I don't like. I know that. So before any Gamecock fans think we're being too serious. I know that there have been Gamecock football players that have represented Carolina at the SEC championship as legends of the school that did not compete in the Southeastern Conference, and that's different. And look, the school still wants to celebrate you, but the conference, just jumping right in with, legends made here.
That's such a look at me, Louie move.
It was just
get out of here.
Really,
this isn't about you, pal.
But way to go, Katie Ledecky. I mean, it was really. I watched it last night. I didn't get to see it live yesterday. I'm doing my best to not watch some things, but it's hard in this business.
Well, especially when you have I don't know.
Now, I get alerts. I get alerts for everything, and it's on. I've got some swimming on right now.
Swimming.
So, America and Australia and China in the women's 4x2 relay. So, looks like Australia's going to win. But I don't know. Bad look.
Here's the thing.
Just a bad look.
Does it really matter? No. But does it give me an absolute green light to make fun of them? Yes. And I'm not going to turn that down. I love making fun of colleges and conferences that will falsely claim something that they didn't earn.
Yeah.
Like Katie Ledecky's Olympic gold medals.
But again, greatest play in ACC football history. And it's like a 4-second loop of the guy scoring the touchdown in the band game. Oh, the band is out on the field. I love that. It's awesome. Way to go.
The trumpet player
whoever this dude
absolutely demolished on that play.
Justin, I don't know who you are, but congratulations, man.
High five from afar.
Yeah, you did.
A virtual high five.
You did good. You did good.
Got him.
Come back on the other side. We'll get back into some football talk for you. Our buddy Seth Emerson taking a look. Here's the thing. Y'all, the football season starts this month. All right? It's August now. Football season starts this month. Now, we have some time until the SEC championship game. But here's the thing. We still don't have a tiebreaker formula in terms of who may be participating in the SEC championship game. And we'll touch on that when the postgame show returns. Welcome back into the post-game show on this Thursday. Jay and Elijah with you. 20 minutes after 4 o'clock. Caroline Fenton of Yahoo Sports coming up in just a little bit. So we'll make this one quick and get to her for a little bit more on what's going on around the SEC. She's doing some Olympics coverage as well. We go to the fourth quarter. American women over Belgium by 7. 10 minutes to play. I mean, if they don't win, it's not the end of the world or anything. But
it would snap a 55 game win streak
something
in the Olympics.
Yeah.
They have not lost since 1992.
It's crazy.
I was not born.
I don't know how they
lifetime.
Yeah, I don't know how they figure out tiebreakers in the Olympics if they need to. I'm sure they got some kind of system. But in all seriousness, there is no official system still as we get ready to start the school year for how the Southeastern Conference might determine who plays in the SEC championship. Used to be easy, right? Winner of the East versus the winner of the West. And it was simple.
Self-explanatory.
And a lot of us used to say, like, yeah, well, this just, and the West is a lot stronger. The East isn't very good, or Georgia dominates the East of late, but they lost twice to Alabama, and on we could go. But it was still East versus West. And now it's not. Now there are 16 schools. But it's not a round-robin tournament so that everybody plays everybody, and you've got a head-to-head with everybody. Head-to-head, should it be needed, would be the first tiebreaker, of course. But, as our buddy Seth Emerson points out, and I'll try to read a little bit of this, let's look at it this way. I'm going to read verbatim. He says, let's say Georgia finds a way to go 7-1. That almost certainly is good enough to get in the college football playoff, assuming it doesn't lose more than one non-conference game. But it will easily leave room for 2 others to qualify for the SEC championship. LSU, 5th in the preseason media vote, gets its 3 hardest opponents on paper at home: Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma. Road games are A&M, Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas. There's a path to 7-1 there. Missouri, coming off a breakout season, has to go to Alabama, but otherwise its hardest game on paper is at Texas A&M. Its next hardest games would be Oklahoma and Auburn, both at home. He continues, you may notice neither LSU nor Missouri has to play Georgia or Texas. In fact, a number of the projected top teams don't play each other. Alabama and Texas don't play. Neither do Ole Miss and Texas, or Alabama and Ole Miss. And if Tennessee, he writes, manages to be involved in the discussion, it will have played Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma, but not Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, and Missouri. And he goes on to say, so yes, you can see the chaos coming. Now, I'm an old dude, and I like tradition. I like new stuff. But Elijah is our resident, almost computer guy. Again, the EBPI, the EFPI, whatever he's got in there. And so Elijah has come up with his own set of tiebreakers.
Yes.
Because I like, because unfortunately I think this is not going to be like England, where goal difference followed by goals scored. Head-to-head in England in soccer is like way down the list.
Which is incredibly lame.
Well, it is and it isn't, because everybody plays everybody. So, you do have a head-to-head, but they basically want you to go out and dominate all night or all afternoon, depending on when you kick off. And in American sports,
truer sample size.
It's sort of the opposite of did you play? Did you win? And I get both sides. But regardless, I don't know where touchdowns scored, or length of field goals made.
Whoever kicked the longest field goal
Wouldn't that be great?
in conference play.
Wouldn't that be great?
Like last year, Harrison Mevis kicked, almost a 61-yarder to beat Kansas State, but it wasn't counted because it wasn't in conference play,
right.
So Missouri could have been the odd man out.
That could have been, that could be
hilarious.
That could be the difference. But you have this solved and just need to submit this now to Birmingham, and away we go.
Yes, and I'm sure none of these are going to be rejected whatsoever because, look, point differential, offensive yards gained, whatever. There's so many metrics we can use. All that boring, lame, who cares? This is not only a more fun tiebreaker system, but you can get viewers on this a whole lot easier. Imagine just how much more fun you would have watching these type of playoff scenarios play out. Number 1, coin flip, Friday Night Lights style at a centralized Buc-ee's location. So let's say, you have to, let's say Tennessee's involved and South Carolina's involved. It's going to be the Buc-ee's in Sevierville.
Okay.
Centralized location.
Okay.
There's one in Crossville, but that's like on the other side. Like it can be a little confusing. But we'll find a centralized Buc-ee's location, like in the Friday Night Lights movie where they were at a truck stop. We're going to make this a little classier, okay? We're going to have this at the Buc-ee's, and all football coaches, head coaches, must be in attendance to flip the coins themselves.
I mean, do we know South Carolina doesn't want to have it at south of the border, though?
I mean, south of the border, if all Buc-ee's are booked, I mean, sure. That's another
Or the
tiebreaker
Buc-ee's in Anderson?
So, yeah, Buc-ee's in Anderson, maybe. You have to find a centralized location, and Buc-ee's has.
They don't have one yet somewhere
in the southeast United States.
They need someone in the greater Asheville area, but I digress.
We can also do checkers on the porch of a centralized Cracker Barrel location.
Now, see, now
we're getting into the good stuff here.
And you know what? If you found a way to tie that, you could play the golf tee game.
You could. I don't have Golden Tee on here, but you know what? We're gonna put Golden Tee.
No, not on me. I mean, like the little one at the table.
Oh, those.
Yeah.
I was just thinking Golden Tee.
No, no, the one at the table.
Even better.
At Cracker Barrel. Yeah.
Even better. I see where you're
like the one when you leave
good.
like 5 and you're a doofus.
That's
Isn't that what it says?
Something like that. Oh yeah, there's a rating on it. Yeah. Now that would be fun. And don't give the coaches any instructions if they've never played. They have to figure it out on their own. So that's a good one.
I do think it says doofus, by the way.
Does it say doofus?
Somebody, you know what? Somebody send me a picture of one of those, will you?
I need to go to a Cracker Barrel for a multitude of reasons, but that is now
one of them.
Chicken
and dumplings, man.
Some hash brown casserole. Talk dirty to me.
Solid.
Another one, hot sauce competition.
Ooh.
Where these coaches have to eat. It's like the show Hot Ones, right?
Yeah, I've
where
seen
you're
that.
Putting on like the hottest sauces imaginable on these chicken wings. However, here's how you decide the winner. These coaches participate, but the first one to reach for water or milk or anything to cool off loses.
Okay,
how bad do you really want to play in the SEC championship?
Yeah.
Are you willing to destroy your body for your team to get a chance to play for this conference title game? How bad do you really want it?
The first one that reaches for water is the one I do not trust because water does not help. It makes it worse.
At all. Milk is the way.
Milk. That's why there's celery and blue cheese as the original side dish of the buffalo wings.
Yes, precisely.
Because the dairy cuts the heat. The water just spreads it.
It'll make it worse.
Yeah.
But the first coach to reach for it and use it will lose.
Okay.
So it's a face-off. They could probably go for hours, but could you imagine if Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin had to do this for the tiebreaker spot to get to the SEC championship game, and it's just two grown dudes eating.
Kiffin's winning that, man.
You think so?
I think Kiffin is winning that over Sark at least easily.
This is a test of wills.
I feel like
Sark all tiebreakers should be when it comes down to this point.
Yeah.
Not just luck, but a test of wills.
I don't know if Sark goes past medium, but I could see Lane doing like the kind you got to sign a waiver for, like you did.
Oh yeah, like at Quaker Steak and League.
Yeah, I could see Lane signing a waiver.
And you know what?
I don't think Sark would.
I could totally see Lane Kiffin, in order just to get to an SEC championship game as a head coach, enduring some of the hottest of hot sauces you have ever seen.
Yeah, and I wonder if Brian Kelly's had anything hot yet, even though he lives in Louisiana now.
No, there's no way.
I don't think he has.
Does that man season his food?
I don't think he has.
Probably not.
Well, he puts salt on it. I just see he's a salt. I could just see him as a salt guy with maybe a sprinkle of just regular pepper.
He might take a whiff of Tony's and pass out.
Yeah, Tony Chachere's, man. Which is not even. It's good, but it's not even that hot. Like you need to add some heat.
I mean, it's like flavor. We're talking about flavor.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
All right. Well, keep hold of those. I know we need to get to Caroline. We'll see. What she thinks of some tiebreakers too. Caroline Fenton, Yahoo Sports college football reporter, and then a little bit of Olympics right now too. She's coming up on the other side. This is the Postgame Show.
Columbia Seeker for Weight Loss, approaching 1 year of operations here in the Midlands. And look, they did wonders for me to achieve my weight loss goal. And it's not in like total rocket science, right? But they have great coaching, great resources to be able to help you not just achieve your goal, but track your progress afterwards, right? It's good one-on-one coaching. It's good lessons that you're able to learn to not just help you lose weight, but to help you live healthier too. They give you the resources you need to be able to not just reach those goals, but to do anything you need to be able to sleep better, live better, and achieve a much healthier lifestyle. It's been great for me. I've been sleeping a whole lot better after I did achieve my weight loss goal. And I do take a lot of the tips that Paul Grant and Shaylin helped give me at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. And if you would like to learn this very secret of losing up to 1 pound of unhealthy fat per day and start your own success story like me and a bunch of others here in the Midlands over the past year, give them a call, 803-824-4210, 803-824-4210. Results may vary. From the WIS Traffic Center, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start with an accident on I-26 westbound over at St. Andrews Road near exit 106. Got another one on US 176 at Broad River Road near I-20. And in Lexington County, we have an accident on Pisgah Church Road near Hermitage Road and on US 378 near I-26. We have some just slow traffic, not accident resulting, and on I-26 between Sunset Boulevard near exit 110 and Piney Grove Road near exit 104. And lastly, some slow traffic on I-20 westbound, but in between Wilson Boulevard at exit 71 and Broad River Road near exit 65.
Well, Elijah and I were just talking about how we can solve the SEC championship game tiebreaker problem, and it is playing games on the porch or at the table once they've called you in from the porch at Cracker Barrel. You got checkers outside while you wait. Then once you get to the table, they got the little golf tee game and that little triangle thing.
Well, here's the thing. If they don't finish the checker game by the time the party is called, then they have to do sudden death tees at the table. Yeah. But it makes a lot of sense. You can't just go loiter at Cracker Barrel. You have to be there for a purpose. No, coaches would have to be able to reserve a table, play checkers, and if there's no winner, then we have to decide it. That's basically the equivalent of overtime.
Well, there ain't a football coach alive. I don't care what level of football it is. It's going to just loiter at Cracker Barrel. Once they're there, they're eating.
They're taking up space. Yeah.
Caroline Fenton joins us now. I'm sure she loves Cracker Barrel. She probably does not have the appetite that some college football coaches would have, but doesn't mean you can't enjoy Cracker Barrel. How are you on this beautiful, I hope it's beautiful where you are. It's very hot here, but otherwise very nice. How are you?
Very hot, very humid, and do not judge a book by its cover, because although I may not be the size of a college football coach, like I could take down some chicken and dumplings.
Oh, I hear you. No, listen. You can.
Very nice.
Oh, they're awesome.
Very
man.
nice.
They now that I don't have an S&S cafeteria in Columbia anymore, the only way I get chicken and dumplings that are worth a darn is to go to Cracker Barrel. So I know what's up when it comes to that. We always appreciate Caroline's time. We did last see her in Dallas. All right, so as we get ready for this season right now, and we have these changes that we were talking about, when it comes to the SEC championship game, do you want the chaos that may come with the Southeastern Conference, which, by the way, is still not determined its tiebreaker system, or would you rather have it just be nice and clean and give us, Georgia versus Alabama or Texas versus Ole Miss and have no drama?
Oh, give me chaos. Give me drama. Give me pure and utter bedlam in a lawless area where there's fighting in the streets. Like, give me all the chaos. Because if you didn't like chaos, are you really a college football fan? There's no way that you can really, truly love and enjoy this sport if you don't enjoy a good bit of chaos. And just for one, that makes it fun. That makes things interesting. Whenever we get it right at SEC Media Days, at the end of the season, it's like, oh, well, that wasn't fun. We expected Georgia and Texas to be in Atlanta, and here they are. Like, we couldn't have at least something shake things up. And also give me the chaos, because I think that there are so many chaos scenarios in the SEC this year. I mean, we went through it at SEC Media Days. I think there's probably 6, 7, maybe even 8 or 9 SEC teams that could find themselves in the college football playoff and could even contend in Atlanta in the SEC championship game. There are teams that I don't know if I really view them as world beaters, but they could make things incredibly interesting. I look at Texas A&M. I look at Oklahoma. I look at South Carolina. Let's say they beat LSU at the beginning of the season. Like, that shakes things up. So I think that there are so many interesting scenarios and so many question marks throughout the SEC that, one, chaos seems inevitable, and two, give it to me. I love it.
See, I too am a sucker for some college football chaos. If it were up to me, every year is 2007. But I think we might have a little bit
golden
of
year.
Yeah, Hawaii and the Sugar Bowl. That's fantastic. I love more. I want more of that. But I do think I'm kind of with you here, especially when it comes to there being a lot of shakeup at the top of the SEC, because it does feel like we could have 8 teams that there are probably 8 or 9 teams, even if you include Texas A&M, that feel like they have at least the talent to get to Atlanta. But what's one team maybe that didn't finish in the top 5 of SEC Media Day polling that you think is going to be the ultimate disruptor, whether they get to Atlanta or not?
The ultimate disruptor. I have 2, but I will give you my ultimate, and it is the Oklahoma Sooners. Because I think that Oklahoma has a lot of question marks, right? They're returning a lot of talent, but also Jackson Arnold is a bit of a question mark. Yes, Danny Stutzman, their star linebacker, returns, but in the back end, I mean, Oklahoma had the 109th, I believe, ranked pass defense last year. So there's still questions about what Oklahoma is, especially in its first year in the SEC. But looking at Oklahoma's schedule, they play a lot of those teams that I look at as high ceiling and potentially low floor. Tennessee is a team that I have a lot of question marks about. I think they can be really good. A lot of it is dependent on the quarterback. Tennessee could be a college football playoff contender. Oklahoma could take them down at home. Oklahoma also plays, obviously, Texas. Last year, Texas went to the college football playoff and lost to Oklahoma. If that's an SEC game, how differently do we view that? How could that shake up Texas this season this year? Play South Carolina. They play at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is viewed as a college football playoff contender. Can Ole Miss make the college football playoff with a loss to Oklahoma on their schedule? They go to Missouri. They play Alabama. They go to LSU at the end of the year. All of those teams that I just named could be potential college football playoff contenders in Tennessee, in Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, and LSU. Oklahoma has the opportunity to play spoiler big time and potentially to multiple schools in the Southeastern Conference.
Talking to Caroline Fenton of Yahoo Sports. She's based in Nashville. As we kind of recap what we did a couple of weeks ago, start looking ahead because, again, the season does start now this month. So we've
Woo-hoo.
we've made it, even if it's the last day of the month and this is the first day. Hey, it's still this month. The Florida case is a very interesting one. Elijah and I played some sound from Coach Napier yesterday when he was asked about his future, and he was very philosophical, and he gave a non-answer answer and all that kind of stuff. We were looking at recruiting rankings. Florida's currently in the 30s, and that should just not happen. We know there's negative recruiting going on, Caroline. Florida under Steve Spurrier, we know what he did. Florida under Urban, we know what happened. Everybody else, it's a lot of up and down, and a lot of, as Elijah said, too many cooks in the kitchen. Do you see a way out for Billy Napier with the schedule they have? I mean, I hate to say it this way, but I will. Is this dead man walking, or is this team going to surprise? What might they be one of those? Oh, that's right. Florida plays football. They're pretty good.
We forgot that they're actually a perennial contender and one of the top programs in college football. Crazy how things can change in just a few years. It does feel like Billy Napier is a dead man walking, but for one reason and really one reason only, and it's the schedule. It might be the most difficult schedule that I have ever seen in the history of college football. And I think we are all guilty of getting really caught up in the schedule. But I think we're getting too caught up in the schedule and not looking at the actual talent on this team. Looking at the best completion percentage in the SEC last year, anybody know who it was off the top of their head? Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy. It wasn't him. Jackson Dart was absolutely insane last year, and it wasn't him. It wasn't Jalen Milroe, who is now a favorite to win the Heisman, or one of the favorites to win the Heisman. No, it was Graham Mertz at Florida, the best completion percentage in the SEC. Well, he comes back and has yet another year with this team and in this offense. And yes, they lose Ricky Pearsall, and that's going to hurt. That was one of Graham Mertz's favorite targets last year. And yes, they lose Trevor Etienne. He's headed to Georgia, which is a really weird, incestuous move. But Montrell Johnson comes up and takes over that starting running back role. Eugene Wilson is able to play a larger role at the receiver position. There's a lot of talent on this team. Shamar James on the defensive side in that front seven. There's a lot of talent on this team. I think that Florida's talent, the amount of talent on their roster, is being overlooked because they play the gauntlet of all gauntlets in the murderer's row of all murderer's rows. So while it feels like Billy Napier could be a dead man walking, if they're able to clean up some of those special teams mistakes, some of those dumb mistakes of two number threes on the field and too many men on the field, if they're able to clean up those things, maybe we look at Florida last year a lot differently. Maybe they lose games, or excuse me, they win games that they lost, and maybe they don't make some of those silly mistakes and they clean that up this year, and they're able to turn that into a 7-5 season. 7-5 with this schedule, I think, would be considered a win, even if Florida football's expectations are much, much higher than that.
Caroline, I know you've been on some Olympic coverage here for Yahoo ever since you started the job a little bit, so you're pretty locked into what's going on right now. There's a lot of really cool stories going on. What might be your favorite one that you didn't expect? For me, I've never thought I'd be so into doubles ping pong, or table tennis as they call it, but I was enthralled with that action. What's one thing about these Paris games so far that has caught your attention that you just would not in a million years find yourself being this locked in with?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Obviously, I know every year I'm going to be locked into gymnastics, but every year women's gymnastics just blows me away. And I love watching women's gymnastics. I cover collegiate gymnastics. But what I feel like I've been way more into this year than I ever have in the past is men's gymnastics. I've never really cared much about it, frankly, because the United States, they went, 20-something years without winning a medal. And I don't think it's as fun of an event to watch as women's gymnastics. But what I saw on the pommel horse the other night from Steven Natarazic, my goodness, put the country on his back, won a medal for the first time in 20-something years, or 16 years, something like that. So men's gymnastics I have been really, really into. And synchronized swimming. Let's just put ourselves, hold your breath. But when you're watching that event, for the amount of time that those athletes are holding their breath in synchronized swimming, and we might turn purple, so, caution there. But it's been a really, really fun Olympic Games.
It's been fun, and we're only a few days in still. We got way over a week to go, so it's been a blast. I love it. We'll check in with you again very soon. We always appreciate the time. Enjoy all of it, and we'll see what a lot of these tiebreaker statistics and more can finally show us. But good stuff. Caroline Fenton 1 is the way to follow her on Twitter. Catch her work at Yahoo Sports all season long. Appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
You bet. That's Caroline. All right, we'll come back, get you updated on what's going on at the Olympic Games when the postgame show returns. Oh, sorry, turn that on. Welcome back in. I was just listening to the Stones.
Microphones work.
I'd rather listen to the Stones
when they're on.
That's the only downside of the sports talk format. We're not really supposed to play more than 30 seconds of a song. And my boss,
fair use.
My boss likes to come right back in over a bump. Doesn't even let the bump play for a second. The bump really it shouldn't even be there in his mind. And he and I differ. And I've said before, I like the bump to play, man. I want people to get into it for a second. That's why I play the bump. But when it comes to that particular song, Can't You Hear Me Knocking by the Rolling Stones, I let it go a little longer.
Can let it play.
Because it's really, really fantastic song.
We get like 30 seconds of fair use before.
It's not just a good song. It's not just a good song. It's a fantastic song.
It's a wonder. It's a marvelous.
It may be my favorite Rolling Stone song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, as much as I do like that song, I don't even know if it's in top 5 favorite Stone songs for me.
Yeah, people love the hits, and I've said before, you take the top 20 Rolling Stone songs, right? Just say by sales alone.
Right.
Forget about opinions. Just let's go by some fact, right? Sales alone, whatever they may be, Jumpin' Jack Flash and Start Me Up and all that, and they're all great, right? Just move them off. And say to Mick and Keith, you can't play those. And you still got a 3-hour show that's going to make you go, oh, my God, that was amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're so prolific.
It's kind of like, Bob Dylan. He never plays any of the hits.
I would.
Like, he plays songs you've never heard. The guy's been making music for, 8 years.
And he wants to play, and I look, sometimes you got to play the hits. I know people are there to, when you're doing the Stones Stadium tour, they want to hear Jumpin' Jack Flash, and they want to hear Brown Sugar.
Yeah, Bob quit caring.
I'm all for that. But if the Stones said, we're going on nothing but a deep cut tour, I'd be like, heck yeah.
You'd be like, take my money.
All of it. But it's going to cost you double. I'd be like, here you go.
So I'll give you triple just for my enthusiasm.
I might. I really, really might. Let's update the poll question before we get into a few other things that are going on out there today.
Yes, today the final.
Because they tie in. What we're going to update you on ties in.
Yes, it does tie in. We'll go ahead and start with the poll number 4. Of which these iconic South Carolina sports moments is your favorite. It's our last of the preliminary polls. Of course, it's all sponsored by Columbia Craft on Green Street, famously hopped. And we have our closest poll yet with the 308 votes. The women's basketball 2017 championship over Mississippi State is sitting at 28.2%, less than a percentage point ahead of the football win at Clemson in 2022, which is at 27.3%. In third place at 22.4%, so not too far behind the football win at Clemson. The women's basketball second national championship against UConn at 22.4%, and then at 22.1%, so just 0.3 of a percentage point behind it, is the DJ Swearinger hit on Andre Ellington in 2012 as part of a run of 5 straight W's against Clemson.
All right, good stuff. United States did come back and beat Belgium. Carolina's and Colombia's own Asia Wilson, 23-13. Breonna Stewart added 26-7. Belgium played very well in this game. They really did. Pushed America, I don't want to say to the brink, because America in the end kind of stretched it out. But
made them sweat.
USA will. For a while they gave them a good game. That's good. You need a good game. You need to get pushed. I mean, yesterday when South Sudan kept pushing America's men, I was like, all right, good.
Good. Yeah, don't cruise to everything.
I'm here for that. America will play Germany in the final game of group play on Sunday. Again, both teams expected
Deutschland to
win the gold medal. All right, so I'm looking at it here. Earlier we were talking about the Cracker Barrel golf tee game that you have at the table. And I was like, if you just are terrible, did they call you a doofus? No, I was wrong. I'm going to read you what the game says so that you'll know. It says, jump each tee and remove it. Leave only one, you're genius. Have 2, and you're really smart. Or leave 2, and you're really smart. Leave 3, and you're just plain dumb. Leave 4 or more, and you're just a plain ignoramus.
Ooh, is that worse than being called a doofus?
It's about the same, just longer.
I feel like
it does feel a little meaner.
Doofus would hurt me a little bit.
Yeah, I knew it was something that really, punches you. Our good friend Michael Geddes of Integrated Media said he couldn't see the word doofus on there, but apparently he says he's going to order us one, and that it's only $3, and we're going to have it here in the studio. So I appreciate it, Michael. Thanks, man.
That's how we can settle a lot of disputes.
But if you're going to spend money for us at Cracker Barrel, I'd rather have some pancakes or some chicken and dumplings.
Bring some hash brown casserole.
I'm not going to lie.
Woo!
Even just a basket of biscuits. Hour 3 coming up.
Some country fried steak. From the WIS Traffic Studio, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this Thursday afternoon. We'll start here in Richland County. An accident on US 176 Broad River Road near I-20 is causing some mild traffic backup, as well as one on Spear Creek Church Road at I-20, 77 northbound between Fort Jackson Boulevard and Exit 10 and Forest Drive, and Exit 12 is just experiencing some slow traffic. And in Lexington County, we have an accident on 26 West over at St. Andrews Road near Exit 106, and on 26 East at I-20 near Exit 107B. We also have some stop-and-go traffic causing some serious delays on 26 West between Sunset Boulevard, Exit 110, and St. Andrews Road and Exit 106.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Also, the final hour of the postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We again start with the United States women's basketball team and Asia Wilson beating Belgium today by a final of 87-74. Asia with a double-double, 23 points, 13 rebounds, also added 2 assists. Brianna Stewart had 26 points and 7 rebounds for the United States. They go to 2-0 in pool play. They will close it out with Germany coming up on Sunday. Again, I'll give you a chance to turn your radio down for a second if you don't want to hear the next result, because a lot of you like to watch these things in prime time without knowing. So 3, 2, 1. Simone Biles has won the women's all-around gymnastics final. Former Auburn gymnast Suni Lee won the bronze. They, together, Elijah, were the first 2 women to ever compete against one another after having won the women's all-around gold medal. That had never happened. Usually they just retire and live off the fact that you just won the Olympic. You're the best gymnast on the planet, and that makes those people a lot of money.
It does. A lot of endorsement deals get made because of that.
A lot of money.
So very rarely we get to see them go.
Yeah, but Simone wanted to keep competing, and Suni got sick at Auburn and had that bad kidney thing, and then she came back and they won the team gold medal. That's not a spoiler, and they
did that earlier this week.
And now these two have medaled. Rebecca Andrade, I think is how you pronounce her last name. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's how it's spelled. Won the silver for Brazil. So there you go. All right. There's some swimming later. Katie Ledecky's really good. Primetime.
She wins a lot.
NBC, if you want to watch more of that. Let me get a little bit serious here on a couple of things that have a lot of SEC fans kind of troubled. First off, LSU is reinstating defensive back Javian Toviano amid a very troubling case that is not over yet. He was arrested, and I want to be careful here. He was arrested on charges of video voyeurism a few weeks back, and basically admitted, and I'm going to try to be as PG as possible, to filming himself with a companion without her knowledge or consent. And he did admit as much in a police report. Today, Brian Kelly, the head coach of LSU, said the following, quote, "He's back in football activities, and we'll kind of get him going again, back in the mix. Obviously, he's going to be a competitive player for us. He played for us last year, and we'll get him going as he works through his legal matters." I'm not supposed to editorialize on some of these things, but, I mean, he admitted it. He admitted it.
Like no suspension?
You're just
going to let him come back?
He surrendered to the police. And again, in a police report, I'm reading here from the AP, the arrest warrant stated he admitted during an interview with detectives that he had used a hidden camera to record the encounters. The player was suspended the day of the arrest, then reinstated shortly before LSU's opening practice. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Brian
Kelly.
It speaks for itself as to why something like that is very, very, very troubling.
Yeah.
Problematic.
When we use the word enabling with some of these programs and guys acting up.
I mean, come on, man. You can't. This is just you can't do that.
Like, what was his real punishment? He was suspended when they're not practicing.
Right.
So, Brian, there's no real punishment given.
Yeah. What you didn't get to go to the team cafeteria?
Oh, darn.
You had to go work out at Anytime Fitness.
Yeah, that'll teach him.
Sorry to that brand name. I don't mean to throw you into that mix. To the local gym. Because that's bad, and
I gym. Yeah,
I didn't mean that in a bad way towards that particular brand name gym.
He had to go work out at Globo Gym instead.
With
White Goodman.
Meanwhile, and this one makes people feel differently. Today, it was announced that Georgia wide receiver Rara Thomas, arrested last week on 3 family violence charges, including a felony charge of child cruelty, was dismissed from the Georgia football team. Kirby Smart saying today as he opened his press conference, he can no longer be part of the football team. He understands that. We wish him the best moving forward. Kirby went on to say that he spoke with Rara face-to-face on Tuesday, brought him into the office, and told him why what he had done was not acceptable. And remember, this is the second time that Rara Thomas has been charged with some form of domestic violence while the student at the University of Georgia. Last year, even though the charges were later dropped for a variety of reasons, he was accused of basically keeping his girlfriend in a dorm room, not allowing her to leave. But the reason the charges were dropped, I say variety of reasons, PTI was one of them. Mm-hmm. But, then you get your so-called second chance. And then you get arrested on 3 counts. And this time it involves a child. And, good for Kirby and good for Dr. Moorhead and the University of Georgia, in my opinion. And, look, I hope that if this kid has a problem, I want him to get it taken care of. But you don't get it taken care of while you get to play for one of the most elite programs in the country on their dime.
Yeah, that actually sends the opposite message to him if he would not have lost that opportunity.
Yeah. I expect that a kid like Rara Thomas will get a third opportunity. And when he does, the new school will call it a second chance.
Even though it's not an accurate characterization.
That's what I think. And I don't want anybody's life to be wrecked. I'm not here for that. But what have you done? And again, we don't even know what the details are, but you got a felony count of child cruelty against you. And you were in jail for almost 4 days before you finally posted bond. And the bond wasn't that much.
Yeah.
I mean, they were looking into some really serious stuff when they hold you like that without bond for a couple of days. And then they set bond of only $3,500, and you get out. You got arrested on a Saturday. You get out on a Tuesday. And on Thursday, he's off the team. Doesn't say if he's been kicked out of school as of yet. But again, he's going to school on the University of Georgia, if you will. So we'll see where he lands next. But I hope, in all seriousness, I'm very, very serious, that whatever this is gets taken care of, and that that this doesn't happen again, because you can't do that and play major college football.
I just hope other coaches take this with the same amount of seriousness that it requires. I think that's the big thing here, is take this as seriously as the law is taking it.
That's fair. That's fair. Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, the bookmaker at the center of the Shohei Ohtani, and I hate to call it that, but that's the only way I can really get you to go, oh, yeah, I remember that. But it was really his interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara. The bookmaker, Matthew Boyer, will plead guilty next week to bookmaking and money laundering charges. According to court records that were released today, prosecutors charged him with operating an unlawful gambling business, money laundering, and filing false tax returns, according to a plea agreement between the feds and Mr. Boyer. His attorney says Mr. Boyer is looking forward to accepting responsibility for his actions.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm sure that's a very accurate characterization as to what Mr. Boyer
Mr. Boyer is looking forward to
Mr. Boyer
to less time in jail.
Is bleeping amped for this opportunity to spend less time in jail. My client is pumped to go to jail right now.
Well, and as we say on almost every instance of things like this, when the feds finally come, hi, Mr. Boyer, feds here, they got you.
Oh, yeah, the game's over at that point.
They got you.
At this point, when they show up to your door, they're taking the knee. This is the victory formula. Yeah, the game's over.
The game's over. Right.
They have what they need.
And you're thinking, wait, I didn't even know it was kickoff. It's like, well, that's not our problem.
That's too damn bad.
Yeah, but the game is over.
That's on you. Getting kicked off 4 hours ago, buddy, and this is over.
Can I at least get a Coke and a hot dog? No.
No,
you cannot. No, sorry. We'll get you some bread and water at the jail. Come on down. So there you go. Until now, the legal proceedings were sealed as they were looking into other connections to illegal bookmaking activities that Mr. Boyer may have been involved with. So how much singing he's doing, I don't know. But I got a hunch that soon enough, Matthew Boyer, age 49, becomes like Monty Bowman. And he'll be living somewhere outside of Butte, Montana. If you know what I mean.
Running a convenience store.
Yes. Hey, convenience store. Maybe he'll be working at a Cracker Barrel. Playing that little golf tee game.
I mean.
And he'll get really good at it.
And then he's going to start hustling people for money. And then that's how he gets back in the slammer.
Campbell, party of 3. Your table is ready.
Oh.
You get really good at it.
Get really, really good at it. Master it.
There you go. Hey, why not, right? Somebody's got to. Somebody's got to. There you go. All right. You know what? I think I'm gonna end it there. There's not a whole lot of other news going on right now. The Braves won last night, but we talked about that already. They play the Marlins next. Nothing else to say about the Braves.
The fish, once again, fire sailing. The fire sailing fish.
Yeah.
Jazz Chisholm can't quit hitting home runs.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the guy can't stop.
Didn't they? Wait, they didn't trade him, did they?
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they did, right?
Yeah, you're behind on that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They did trade him.
His first 2 games in a Yankee uniform.
They traded like 7 dudes yesterday, man. Or Tuesday, whatever it was, Tuesday. They traded like 7 dudes after lunch and before the deadline.
That's how I know all is right in the baseball world and the fish are fire sailing. However, they're doing this after not a World Series, so tough luck for the fishies.
Whatever it takes. As long as the Braves win, I don't really care. That's our Integrated Media headlines of the day, brought to you by Integrated Media. 803-948-8327 is the phone number. Get ahead of the football rush because it's coming, y'all. I mean, again, football month is here.
It's right now.
Virtually all schools kick off on August 31, and a few might even do it the week before in the 0th week of the season.
Yeah, the 0th week season is August 24th.
Yeah, the 0th week
23rd. That's
is
the
coming.
Friday.
When is the 0th week of the high school season? Because I know they have one too.
August 23rd.
Right.
That is Friday the 23rd.
There you go.
We'll be Justin Holland and your boy will be live on air giving you the scores of the 0th week.
0th week. I demand that you and Justin do nothing but say more 0th week scores coming up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We are going to run that.
I don't want the other term used. Just 0th week.
That's beautiful.
Because that's what it is. Come back on the other side. It's the first day, if you will, tomorrow of Carolina practice. Was today the 0th day of Carolina practice? Sort of. Shane Beamer spoke to the media. We'll give you a little bit of what the coach had to say when the postgame show returns. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Thursday. Jay and Elijah with you. Before we get you some sound from Coach Beamer, do want to remind you about a couple of things, including the Ultimate Season Ticket Giveaway. It's your chance to win season tickets to all Carolina home football, basketball, and baseball games. When I say basketball, that's Dawn's team and Lamont's team. That's 4 season tickets.
It's a lot.
You heard me right. Look for the Ultimate Season Ticket Giveaway graphic on the homepage, 1075thegame.com. Be listening for more details on how you could be that person. That's pretty cool. That's a prize, man.
That's a whole lot of value in
that's
that prize.
All right. Before we get into Shane, greatest Gamecock sports moment since 2000, poll 4. Which of these Carolina moments is your favorite? The 2017 Women's Championship. The 2022 Women's Championship, the football win at Clemson back in 22, or the DJ Swearinger hit of Andre Ellington, the poster, if you will, back in 2012. Same game as the Dylan Thompson run. And if you want to just throw that into the mix for fun, you can.
Yeah, it counts.
Same game.
It encapsulates that game and the 5 wins.
You have got a few hours left, but we're only here for, another 40 minutes or so. But right now, the women's title is out front of the 22 Clemson game by just a bit. So we'll see what happens there. But go vote on the Twitters, 1075 The Game. Coach Beamer met with the media earlier on Gamecock Football Media Day. Practice officially begins tomorrow, August camp, as I like to call it. And there's still a lot of position battles out there. And Shane was asked about what he sees as the biggest ones for his team when camp opens.
Yeah, great question. Yes and no. I think there's a lot. I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I really do believe there's multiple. We met as a staff this morning, and I talked about all the things that really excite me about this team, which there's a lot, but then all of the things that are, I don't want to say concerns, but are questions that we have to answer, and there's multiple. And who the kicker is going to be, is something that we have to figure out. What does that, I'm going to go through basically every position, David, I'm sorry, but essentially, okay, if O'Donnell Fortune's coming into the season as one starting corner, what does that opposite corner battle look like? Nick Emanwari and DQ Smith come into the preseason as our 2 starting safeties. What does the depth look like behind those guys? How is this linebacker rotation going to shake out? Because you guys have heard me say it, we basically had a 3-man rotation last year. I feel confident saying that we could have as much as a 7-8-man rotation as far as guys, if they continue to come along, that I feel like can help us win SEC football games. What does that shake out, or how does that shake out? Same thing, we feel good about the D-line group, but what's the rotation there? Obviously, everybody wants to talk about the offensive line and the receiver position, so I would probably say that one to answer your question, just what it looks like. Not that we don't have capable people, because we do, but we've got more depth and athleticism and competition than last year on really every position, but particularly on the offensive line and at the receiver position. And it's the truth that if you ask me today, what will the starting 5 look like on the offensive line game 1, and who are your top 6 receivers game 1, it really truly is still to be determined, so I think a little bit of everything. There's competition. What does Lenoris and Robbie in that situation, how does that continue to come along? Davis Bevel. But probably most pertinent, most important right now would be, they're all important, but the most up in the air, probably the receiver rotation and how that shakes out.
You mentioned that the summer was elite this summer. Can you point to 2 or 3 kind of tangible things that took it from really, really, really good to elite?
I think obviously the physical part of it, when you just look at how some of these guys have changed their bodies this summer, whether it be gaining weight, guys that needed to gain weight, whether it be losing weight, guys that needed to lose weight. Coming out of spring practice, John, there's a lot of guys that had some body weight issues, good or whether it be gaining or losing. And as we sit here right now, we've overcome those, and a couple, don't get me wrong, that still need to probably gain a little bit, lose a little bit, but we're in a great position from that standpoint would be one. How we've gotten stronger. If you look at what our guys the strength gains that they've made, from January to now, but in particular from May when they came back until now, we've gotten stronger. There's no question about it. And then you guys have heard me say it before, and it's the truth. Every coach in America would say this, but the summertime is just so critical because that's really when you're forming so much of your team from a leadership standpoint and the mental toughness and all that as well. And they've had some tough, hard, raw moments this summer as a team, and I just feel like we've taken a huge step just from a leadership standpoint, guys being willing to hold each other accountable, call each other out when needed, just things like that. So overall, just I think the physical part of it, but then just the overall team dynamic, I really feel like we've made some strides in that department.
Shane, I know over the last couple of years, transfer portal players continue to just grow in the sport of not just college football, but college sports as a whole. I know it's not apples to oranges, but last year Lamont Paris brings in a lot of new players. Those guys were able to buy in quickly. Number one, do you talk to other coaches in other sports maybe about how they were able to get transfer players to adjust? And what do you think is one of the keys to be able to get those guys to blend in, to be able to achieve the things you want quickly?
Yeah, talk to other people from time to time. I don't know if it's necessarily calling, every coach and quizzing them on how they've handled the portal and things like that. Certainly in certain instances, whether it be Lamont or whoever, just talking to them about how they've been able to do things, not just with the transfer portal, but with their team in general, just culture, roster dynamics, absolutely. For me, Mike, it starts with bringing the right person into the program. Because, yes, I believe our culture's strong here without a doubt, but no matter how strong your culture is, if you bring an absolute turd, am I allowed to say turd? If you bring an absolute turd, I just did turd into your program, it's going to be hard to overcome that if he doesn't fit what we're about. And we've walked away from guys that in the portal that maybe wanted to come here, that just from being around our players and being around them, I didn't quite think they were going to fit with what we're about. And every time we bring a player into our program, the first team meeting that we have, I tell our players, I brought Mike Uva into the program, and he's going to fit what we're about, and I believe he's a good person, and yada, 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 and going to help us from that standpoint. So bring the right person into the program, and then once they get in here, that's where it helps us this year because we have so much returning leadership on our team. We vote on captains at the end of the season. Boogie Huntley and Debo Williams were captains for us on the 2023 team of our top, whatever I said, I know I said it in Dallas, but I think of our top however many vote getters for captain, I think top 8 vote getters, maybe 5 of them are back. So we've got a lot of leadership returning, which new guys come into the program, they see from the people in our program how things are done, what this place is about, and then it's easy to just kind of fall in line. And it's not always easy to transition, but put a lot of support around them, players, coaches, staff, and having conversations, and then really even do a better job myself of just being more intentional about building relationships and forcing everybody on the team to get to know each other and help bring those guys along. And not patting myself on the back. I think I said it with you guys before, but it makes me feel good when other guys come into our program from other places and they talk about how we do things, and it's different than where they've been and whatnot. And I would hope they would say that because it is different here in a lot of ways.
So there you go, a little bit from Shane Beamer. We'll have a little bit more from Coach. And as part of the drive around the SEC, Elijah and I will also go back and discuss one of the things we had earlier on the program, which has to do with how the Southeastern Conference has yet to decide a tiebreaker system for who plays in the SEC championship game.
Time's running out.
Which, if you're wondering, if you heard us talking about like the Cracker Barrel game, that was one of the things Elijah came up. Well, actually, Elijah said they had to play checkers
first
on the porch. Yeah. And then I was like, but if they call you in, then you have to play that golf tee game on the table.
And if some people might be asking, like, Elijah, why don't you just make them go to Cracker Barrel, play the checkers, like what they came here to do, determine who's going to play in the SEC championship game, then leave? False. That is my response. No, you don't do that. You don't loiter at Cracker Barrel.
No.
You be respectful to the establishment. You get a table, you go in there,
you eat.
And we still our differences like men at the table with the tea game.
You could have an eating contest.
You could. Oh, we definitely could. A tiebreaker to the tiebreaker.
Who eats more chicken and dumplings? Just bring out a trough of chicken and dumplings. One of y'all has to finish this.
and you can't use your hands. They will be tied behind your back.
I would love that.
That
Who do
would
we?
be
Okay,
foul.
okay. I'm not going to answer it now. I want y'all to think about it. Let's all think about it. Who are the two coaches in the SEC right now that we would most want to see without utensils eating from a trough of chicken and dumplings at Cracker Barrel?
And why are their names Sam and Pittman?
I got a feeling he's one of them.
I would bet an ungodly amount of money for him to win that challenge. An ungodly amount. I would pay rent next month with Sam Pittman.
I think I have who he would go up against. I think. Answer on the other side of the break.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to that are causing some issues here on the roadways, and we'll start with some accidents here in Richland County. One on Bush River Road near I-20, another one on Clemson Road at I-20, another one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at Brickyard Road, and one on Spear Creek Church Road at I-20. We also have some accidents in Lexington County that are causing some issues. One on US 378 near I-26, one on Pisgah Church Road at US 1, I-26 eastbound at I-20 and exit 107B, I-20 westbound after South Carolina 6 and exit 55. And we also have some stop-and-go traffic, not accident-related, it looks like, on I-26 westbound between Sunset Boulevard and St. Andrews Road.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. So our buddy Seth Emerson had a piece earlier today at The Athletic on the still being discussed topic, if you will. Is that grammatically correct? Yeah, I'll take it like that. Of a tiebreaker system for the SEC championship game. As you now know, most of you, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you, there are no more divisions in SEC football. It is strictly 1 through 16.
No mas.
And numbers 1 and 2 will play for the SEC championship. The winner of the SEC championship game will be one of the 4 Power 4 conference four highest ranked conference champions. I would assume they would be.
Well, because when Middle Tennessee State runs the table and wins the Conference USA Championship,
I'm down.
They're going to be probably top 7, 8. And, there might be a Big 12 champion that's a little cannibalized because of the parity in that league. So there's a good chance my Blue Raiders will end up having a bye in the college football playoff. And they'll be one of those top 4, despite not being a Power 4 conference team.
But the champ, I'm pulling for you, man.
You heard it here.
I'm pulling for you. I am pulling for you.
4 and 8 to Final 4.
I'm here for the story. But the top 4 champions, in terms of the CFP ranking, will get a bye. So the game has a lot more meaning these days. But again, it's 1 versus 2. 1 will play 2, sort of like what Mike Tranghese used to say. But how do we get there if there's, say, 4 7-1 teams, or 4 6-2 teams, or worse yet, what if there's like 1 8-0 team, and then 5 6-2 teams?
That could be gross.
Because there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are like, wait. But only 2 can play. This is not going to be some type of, WWE cage match, which would be cool.
I kind of wish it would get that way.
That'd be fine,
That's a little lower on my list of potential tiebreakers. A little bit lower. I think I have some better suggestions ahead of that. But
now, obviously, head-to-head would come first. So, you almost, if there are multiple teams that are up there, head-to-head's going to come first. But then what? Is it record against common opponents? Do you go into statistical categories? Most points scored. Again, in England, the number one thing, first off is just points. Like you get, 3 for a win, 1 for a draw. And then it's goal difference. That's number 2.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And then number 3, if that's a tie, is goals scored. And then it goes down into a lot of other minutia, even if that's tied. And finally, you could get down to head-to-head potentially. But even then, see, when you play each other twice in England, if you will, what if that's a draw, right? So you have to have a whole bunch of things. Now, you can't tie in college football, so that won't be an issue. But where do we go? And, from what Seth reported in Dallas and what he's followed up with today, they say they won't go to anything too crazy, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what too crazy is.
There's nothing crazy about meeting up at a centralized Buc-ee's location and doing a group coin toss like they do in Friday Night Lights. There's nothing crazy about that. Actually, that's probably one of your more normal ones. If we want to settle differences like men, I think that's a good way of doing it.
Well, I don't disagree with you. But again, a lot of these schools just don't see each other. That's the downside of having an 8-game schedule in a 16-school league. But even a 9 or 10-game schedule isn't going to alleviate all the problems. because you can't see everybody. I wish you could.
Conference is too damn big.
But that's the downside. He even says here that they don't have a timetable. You've got to know, right? Like, you need to have this in place when the season starts, right?
It should be.
I mean, you need to, even if it's not till December.
Because the optics would be so bad. It would be so bad.
Yeah, like, we don't
have
know.
a tiebreaker in
It's going to be like the Bud Selig thing. I don't know.
And then you get to the end of the season, and it becomes very apparent that, like, Alabama's going to be 6-2 in conference play. LSU's going to be 6-2. Ole Miss. And then you give a tiebreaker that somehow, like, for some reason or another, favors any of them. And I'm telling you, don't give SEC fan bases more ammo to give perceived slights. That's what I was trying to say.
No, I get it.
But yeah, don't give them any. There's no fan bases in the country like SEC fan bases that will tear Achilles from jumping to conclusions. Do not give them any ammo when you decide to finally magically come up with a tiebreaker system in November that might somehow benefit Alabama the first year Nick Saban's not there. Don't do that to yourself. Trust me, do not do this to yourself. Have this mess secured and ready by the time the season starts. That way we're all playing by the same criteria. And because you know what? If I'm playing, sorry for Wofford catching the stray here, but if I'm playing Wofford, I know that, they do something like total season points, right?
Yeah.
But that's not going to be the case. But in this hypothetical, there's a controlled variable where I can lay it on thick with the team because I know I can use this for a tiebreaker later on because you're watching the standings. You're not stupid. Everybody has access to these standings. That if I have a chance to continue pouring it on somebody, I'd like to know that would benefit me instead of in hindsight being like, oh, well, now I wish I kept the starters in the second half.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to hear them say, well, we have time. We'll let you know by October 1st or something like that even. Like, no, you need.
Hell, you do.
Yeah, you really don't have time. Is there, by the way, for what it's worth, I know Carolina, Kentucky play week 2. I'm looking. But is there another conference game, Elijah, on week 2? I'm trying to roll down the schedule as fast as I can. No, I don't see one.
Nope. That might be a standalone. It is the game of the week on ABC. Which there's some good. Yeah. You tell me, Missouri and Buffalo's not a conference game yet?
No, not yet.
We haven't expanded that far.
Not yet. There's a couple of good games. That Tennessee NC State games there, but anyway, yeah. So no, no other conference game. I mean, if nothing else, then you need to have it done by that day. Like, I'll give you a week if you really needed more time.
If you need a deadline extension?
Yeah, I don't think they will, right? But I'll give you the week where there's no conference game. But by the time Carolina and Kentucky kick off, you need to have this done. I'm surprised they don't. But I wonder, too, honestly.
A lot of smart folks in that room.
Yeah, I just wonder, and I don't mean this to sound overly critical, but I do mean it to be critical. When did they start thinking about this? Like, I feel like maybe they did all this and they got the conference bigger and everything else, and they were rolling through all the CFP scenarios. And did somebody finally go, well, what about our tiebreaker system?
It's got to be a little more enhanced now.
Yeah, I mean, and how big a topic was that at Destin? But that you don't have it done by the 1st of August is interesting for the Southeastern Conference. I'll just say it like that. Interesting. But anyway, we'll find out here soon enough. By the way, breaking news just came down. Major League Baseball.
Very unfortunate.
Mike Trout is done for the season with a torn meniscus. Do that man a favor, Angels, and just let him go. I know he could play anywhere and tear his meniscus, but just let him go. When Cameron was in Egypt's land.
Free him.
Let my Cameron go.
There is something with that organization that they sold their soul for one World Series, and after that is just not.
They didn't even. I'm telling you, dude, they didn't sell their soul. I'm telling you, Disney. Michael Eisner knew exactly what was going to happen. We're going to win the World Series, and we're going to sell.
Darren Erstad and Troy Gloss being our best hitters.
We're going to sell, and we are out. No pun intended. We are done.
And then the future guys will just get all of this generational talent.
Over. I mean, Disney made so much money for that.
Do absolutely nothing with it.
And Artie Moreno, 20 years later, hadn't been able to do anything. All right, so one of the tiebreakers we've decided could be two coaches going head-to-head with a trough full of Cracker Barrel chicken and dumplings.
Yeah.
And we pretty much all figured that Sam Pittman is one of them. The thing is, Sam Pittman's team isn't going to make it, man. So I really wanted this to come down to, like, guys that have an opportunity, right?
To participate.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Imagine a Sam Pittman who is coaching for his job, has the season of a lifetime. They're 5-3, but there's like 4 other 5-3s. Right. And that man, all he has to do is just outlast you with a trough of chicken dumplings at Cracker Barrel with no utensils or hands. Dude, it's over. It's over for all of you. Don't even show up. That man will wipe the floor with every single one of you and save his job by eating.
The Godfather, Brian Glenn, says that Lane Kiffin, he feels, is ready for this. Now, Lane is I wouldn't say he's a diminutive guy, but he's not as big as a lot of the coaches in the conference.
Joey Chestnut taught us anything.
That's true, man. No, that's fair. That's fair. And the Japanese dude is not necessarily the biggest guy. And he can put him down, Joey's biggest rival. All right, so Sam Pittman, here's the thing. You know who I think thinks he could do it? I know I said it that way on purpose.
Okay, yeah.
Eli.
Oh, he thinks he could do anything. Yeah.
And so what I'd want is to see Eli just give up, or maybe soil his shoes, because he's a sneakerhead.
He is. I would love to see Sam Pittman embarrass him in the Cracker Barrel.
So that's what I'm here for, because Eli thinks he can, and Sam will just say, "All right, boy, here's how it's done."
Watch this.
Yeah.
Woo pig.
We'll continue the drive around with a little bit more from Shane when the post-game show returns. All right, welcome back in. Final few minutes on this Thursday. And again, a happy August to everybody.
It's football month, baby.
It is.
There's football tonight, barely, but there is football tonight.
I know.
It is technically a game.
The zeroth game of the year is what it is.
Football teams.
Texans -1.5.
There are two teams that will be playing football against each other. And we're going to make some money on it, Jay Phillips.
I'll be watching the 0th minute of the game.
Caleb Williams will be taking his 0th snap of his career.
Seriously, I will watch less than none if that's possible. Couldn't care less about the Hall of Fame game. Could not care less. And I know what you're saying, and I know you're not that guy. But there are people out there. Football is back. It's the Hall of Fame game. No.
I'm not that starved for it.
Sorry, but no. Listen, football is back when the regular season begins. None of these exhibition games count. Then it's back. Because you know what? That's a real game. You know what counts? Real games. You know what doesn't count? This thing tonight. God bless you, Canton, Ohio. I've never been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Where is Canton? That's like not too far from Cleveland, right? Maybe a little south of Cleveland.
My Ohio geography is kind of wild.
I know where Cleveland is. I know where Cincinnati is. I've been to Dayton, and I know Columbus is pretty much in the middle. So I think it's more towards the Cleveland-Akron area. I think.
Cleveland adjacent.
I tell you what, while we have one more Q&A quickly from Shane, and then we'll have poll results, I'll find out where Canton is, even though I'm not going to watch the Hall of Fame game. But here's a little bit more from Coach's press conference today.
So, not to get too technical, but one of the tweaks that we've made going into this upcoming season is doing a little bit more of a we've tweaked some things that we're doing in practice, like I've talked to you guys about trying to be a little bit, hopefully be a little bit healthier as we go into the season. So one thing that we're doing is normally when our guys go from meetings, they go straight from the meetings to the walkthrough. We always start every single day. The very first thing is a special teams walkthrough, and that would be at 9:15, for example. Whereas this year, the first thing they do when they come on the field is we're going to call it activation. Basically, just kind of get their bodies warmed up a little bit before the walkthrough, because a walkthrough for us is a little bit more than a walkthrough. It's like a jog through. So just to I'm probably taking up too much time here. Sorry, Steve. We had an incident this past spring where Joe D was doing something in the special teams walkthrough that required a little bit of jogging, and we had a specialist that slipped essentially coming on the field, potentially pulled something, kind of did pull something, and it was kind of eye-opening, like, oh my God, maybe we need to do a little bit more before the walkthrough just to kind of get their bodies going, because they've been sitting in meetings. So we've never done it before. They've done it a little bit before the weight workout, so we haven't even talked to the players about this. So if you ask them and they come down here, hey, what do you think about the activation period? They're probably going to be like, what? But that's all we're doing. So the 9:23 is the activate. 9:15 is when they got to be on the field tomorrow morning to kind of get the warm up. Then we go into the walkthrough after 8 minutes, which would be 9:23. So anything in our program, it's down to the minutes. This isn't like some new thing. If you look at a practice schedule, it drives my wife crazy, and my wife and kids crazy, because they're like, why can't you just say 9:20 and 9:25 and 9:30? Because I want that period to be 3 minutes or 6 minutes or 4 minutes and whatnot. So that's why.
All right, there you go. Good stuff from Shane. And that was in reference, and there was more. If you want to hear all of it, I think you can find it on the Gamecocks YouTube page if you want to see all of what Shane had to say today. But he did actually give a very good, in-depth answer on what the team is doing this season to try and prevent injury. Now, you can't prevent them all, but some of the self-sustained type stuff, making sure guys are stretched better, that they are getting things done pre and post practice. Just little things here or there, because there did seem to be an inordinate amount of injuries last year, especially up front. And they've tried to identify the places where they can make little improvements that hopefully lead to something bigger and better for the team in terms of injury prevention. But the team will get things going for August camp tomorrow morning over at the Steve and Jerry Spurrier facility. So
it's football month.
Here we go. All right, final thing here is our poll results thus far, but still time to vote if you Haven't done it yet.
Still have 5 hours to vote on this bad boy. And right now, with 28.5% of the vote, less than a percentage point, the women's basketball 2017 championship, the first one over Mississippi State, leads over the football win at Clemson at 27.6%. And then at 22.1%, we have the women's basketball title against UConn, just a hair above the DJ Swearinger hit in 2012, which is at 21.8%.
All right, good stuff. A lot more on the football team tomorrow. We'll get you ready as well for Liverpool and Man United. Looking forward to that on Saturday. And it's Friday, so you never know, again, what you're going to get around these parts. For Elijah, I'm Jay. We'll see y'all.